All right, welcome to the Rotated Views podcast, everyone. This is episode number 10, Dad Life, Father's Day edition. All right, so today I have Goose, Manny, and Gabe with me in the studio. Father's Day is coming up. It's this Sunday. So when we think of Father's Day, you got to think of obviously all the important, father figures in your life or the lessons that you were taught growing up or whatever it is. Whoever, you consider to be that father figure, that's kind of what we're talking about. So that being said, I like to kick off every episode with a story. And this story is titled First in Flight by Kay Lockridge. So the little Cessna had just cleared the pattern in its climb to 1,500 feet when my father said, "Okay, we can land now." With my newly minted private pilot's license in hand, I wanted him to be my first non-instructor passenger. I'd planned to circle the Michigan State University campus and come back to university-owned airport. I reminded him of this, and I'll never forget what Dad said more than 40 years ago. "I'm not fond of small planes. I just wanted you to know that I have confidence in you." The story is pretty cool. It's about a father obviously having confidence and faith in his son, which is a ton if you actually think about it. This guy. He's not fond of heights, and he got an airplane, right? And his son just got his license. Yeah. He just got his license. I know it's the goal of his son to actually have his father as his first passenger that was like a non-instructor. I mean, how do you know what? That says a lot about how the upbringing of you raising your child, the confidence of the solid adult man that you raised, that you're like, I trust it. Dude, that is phenomenal. Like, to know that you helped raise that.
And I don't know if I'd do that, man, to be honest with you. Uber scary. He's like, you got to know your personnel there. It's like, would he be good at that? No. I think as a dad, it's almost an inherent thing. You just kind of trust that you've taught them right, and you just like almost expect to be fine. Like I would see it from that point of view.
I feel like you would know that they're ready. It's like when the kid, you're giving them the two wheels for the first time, you're behind them, you feel like they're ready, you just let it go. Yeah. So you have the confidence of them just taking off. They're going to fall, but obviously there's an airplane, there's something totally different. So he definitely has the confidence in him to jump in this plane. Not that it's take off. Yeah,
not that it's the equivalent, but I'm sure it's kind of right. Yeah. It's kind of the same when you first take your kid out on the road in the car. I know the parents out there, like, basically in the back of your mind, if your kid's ready. If you know they're not ready, you're taking them to this really big parking lot with no other vehicles and everyone's safe. Yeah. If you know they're kind of like, I think they got this, you take them out on the road. Legally, you can train when they have their permit or whatever, and then you have your license. You can sit in the passenger seat. And
but this is like, dude, you're thousands of feet in the sky.
That's why I said I'm not trying to compare the two, but not everyone flies. So I'm trying to make a comparison as to a relatable kind of thing. It's just incredible. You're 1,500 feet in the air. That's what I mean. That is totally different than driving. Although that's like, I guess, taking your kid on the Autobahn and just going like 1,000,000 miles per hour, and you're like, yeah, you got this. And it's like his first time out driving.
Yeah, and it's like 2 accomplishments. Actually, it's for the kid said he wanted to take his first passenger as his dad, non-teacher, and he flew over to university. Like, it's kind of like you got a brand new car, he's showing off around the block. He's up in the air, flying around. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, but how often do you say as a dad, like, yeah, man, I trust you, but in the back of your mind, like, oh, man, I don't know if this is, I don't know if he's cut out for this. But you say it with confidence and don't let them know that.
And I thought when I first read this, in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, this dad is probably like clenching his like hands onto whatever he can grab, kind of scared out of his mind. But I think that's what, that was like a overcoming of fear. But the faith and the trust in his kid was the factor. Yeah. That was his seatbelt in the back, a mental seatbelt anyway.
Sure.
That gave him that little safety net, I guess. I mean, what does that also say about the son? You have to have confidence in your own skills to then put another person's life in jeopardy, right? Yeah. That it's your dad. You're like, dude, one thing's like me making this decision and screwing up myself here. Yeah. The other is like, dude, I'm putting up another prized possession. Yeah. But, I guess there's a lot of factors there. Obviously this is like the whole Father's Day edition, but the dad probably had confidence in the flight school that this kid went into. This kid had multiple goals. He's obviously a go-getter, a goal setter, and clearly an achiever if he had the license. And he wanted his dad to be a passenger, and he went to fly over Michigan State University. Yeah. And he did both. That's right? Awesome. That's pretty badass.
Dude, and it's also like bragging rights for a dad. You go home, go to work, and like, yo, my son just flew. We just flew over Michigan State in a plane. Like, how often do people do that with their kid? Like, that's awesome. Like bragging rights for a while. And who knows where they can take off to? They're probably it's a trip around the freaking block. Next thing you know, they're flying from country or from island to island.
Right. Or maybe purchasing a plane together and taking it from there. I mean, it's a lifetime story. One of those things where it's like etched in your like memory bank. That's forever.
That's awesome.
All right, so let's jump into the next segment where we ask a question to the crew. And again, the theme here is Dad Life, Father's Day edition. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yeah, happy Father's Day.
Father's Day.
It's a beautiful thing. All right, so to you, how important is it for a father to be a part of his child's life or his children's life? And again, I want to put this in parentheses here. Obviously, every circumstance is different. But for the fathers that have the chance to be in their child's life, how important is it? Do you guys think?
For who? For the dad or for the kid?
For both. No, this is Father's Day. This is the question really is for the child, but I think it's the same thing. I mean, it's just as important. The connection that the father's there. Just kind of going back on that one quote that this is like the third episode in a row now that we're going to use. But it's applicable because it's just because you're around your children doesn't mean that they that there's like a meaningful thing there. Just being around sometimes is not enough.
Right.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Like for me, I unfortunately I don't have my daughter constantly. I get her every weekend, every other weekend, and I have her for 2, maybe 3 days. So when I have her for 2 days, 48 hours is crucial to me. Like I try to spend every minute, second that I can with her because I don't have her during the week. I don't have her that often. So when I'm with her, she's 9 years old, but like I try to spend every second, like whatever she wants to do, we're doing, or whatever we try to do together, we're doing it together. Like nap time together. Like we just try to do as much as we can to keep that bond close. And as same thing, she plays sports, attend every sport possible that I can, and just try to be there for her, to be like supportive. Obviously, she has like other support. She has a big crew behind her, but as a father, like I definitely want to be there. So I try my best, and like I said, for like 48 hours, like Steve Harvey said, you're like that Disney dad. Like you're there trying to have fun as much as do as much as you can with them.
Right.
For the time that you do have them.
Yeah.
If I had her more, maybe it'd be different, but I know I spend every second that I possibly can with her.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I think the important part here is that you just stick to the script. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and give advice to single dads. I'm not a single dad. That's advice coming from a person who's going through it. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I just think it's cool listening to the different perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I go back and I look at it in, as me being a child and having a dad who was there, who provided, who came home every day after work. Like it was almost kind of a cornerstone of my childhood. He was the foundation. I'd leave from school, he'd already go to work. I'd come home from practice and he's just walking up after a 12-hour day. I didn't see him, but to know that, the love to stay working, doing overtime, providing, to buy me a bat or to buy me a bike or whatever it is, those are kind of imprinted memories. And I guess I've tried to pass them on, or maybe subconsciously pass them on to my son. So it's almost like a legacy thing for me. So I think it's super important because there's a lot of things I'm sure my dad taught me that I'm going to pass to my son and not even know that I did it.
Yeah, you don't
and because there's certain things he'll say or I'll say where I had a flashback and be like, my dad told me that a long time ago. I can't. I was like, I can't believe I said that.
It just comes out naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times it's good stuff. Things that you as a kid kind of brushed off, but I find myself saying it now to my kid, and it that lesson will always be there. So I think from a kid's point of view, that's awesome. And I live for my kids, man. My kids give me the energy, so I I don't know what it'd be like as a father without a kid now. Like after you have one, it's like, how do you go back? You know, that love is unbelievable. So, you know, I don't know. That's just my point of view as a kid and as a father. Unbelievable. I mean, that's a bond that you can't break.
Yeah, I mean, I think something else that needs to be said is this is obviously the Father's Day edition. We're talking about our roles, but okay. So I'm gonna talk in my experience. So my experience is me and my wife. We have one child, and what she does and her role is so special to that child's life. It's something that I can't do. Right? There's a bond there. It's just different. It's a motherly bond. It's something that I can't do. And I love the fact that we're working together to make that thing go full circle. Yeah. So she's playing her part. Not that I'm segregating parts in any aspect. You can actually physically see it though. It's just a different bond between a son or a child and the mom and a child and a dad. Naturally, it's just a natural thing. I don't care what anybody says. They say, "Oh, that's gender biases. You're putting in rules." It's not. We actually went in saying, like, purposely saying, like, let's not define rules. Let's just see how it pans out. And I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, but how it pans out, it works for us. And side note and say, you know, thank you to the mothers out there. But speaking on my end for the father part, just being that strong role in my kid's life is so important to me. So there's something that I also get out of it. I want him to know that I'm there. I want him to realize, like you said, that cornerstone piece of his childhood, of his life. His mom plays an important role, and she's going to do her thing. That when you put these two things together, it's incredible. And we're just providing the life for our child as best as we can. And to me, just seeing that, when they say money can't buy, certain things money can't buy, you can't buy that kind of bond. You know what I'm saying? You can't buy those kind of moments when you're putting together a person's childhood when you do things like that, right? There's stuff that he knows and he sees that if, for example, we try not to, we hiccup every once in a while, kind of like, talk about certain things in front of him, obviously, because there's limited things and that he doesn't need to hear or whatever it is. But just that kind of level of communication, it's raising the child that can one day make me the passenger of his plane. Yeah. Right. And it's building that kind of responsible, human being that's going to contribute to our society. I take pride in raising my child. So to me, it's important because it's my biggest and my most exciting responsibility, kind of what Manny was talking about. That's what gives me my energy. That's my motivation. I say this all the time. I look at my son's face and that's my inspiration. It's a different thing. It's a fire. You just look at this little kid's face, and every parent can relate to this. You just look at that face or those faces, whatever. You just see a piece of you in them that you want to be better than you. It's a weird, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We just went saying the same thing. We just had a football practice, and my son never played football before, but he went and he practiced, and he got serious for the first time. And anybody who knows my son, he's rainbow lollipops, and he's like, yeah, very out there. But he turned a corner, and he got like focused and angry to play football. Why it gave me the biggest joy. I smiled from ear to ear because he was just go, and the whistle went, and he would go. He would hit the bag, and inside the stupidest thing is just he's hitting a bag, but he was so focused because I did that. I was in his shoes at one point, and he's doing it and trying really hard. And I just was I told him today before I left, I was like, I'm just so proud of you when you work that hard. I'm just so proud of you. He's like, thanks, Dad. And he looked past me to watch Marvel's superhero. I'm like, all right, good. I mean, just little things like that. I just, I don't know. That is your energy. That's your motivation. It just makes me smile, man. It gives you a feeling that, being a father, I don't know. It just, outer body almost sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's something also, which is hilarious because I'm a first time father. And I always remember this episode on Full House, where Uncle Jesse and he had him and Rebecca had twins, and I guess it was whatever the time of their lives where they were ready to go to school or whatever, and he was walking them to school, and they just walked away from them and just started playing or whatever, And it broke his heart, Uncle Jesse's heart, which I thought was hilarious because he's like, well, they don't know. They don't understand. They don't understand how hard we work. They don't get it. They just walk away. It was like a play on, the emotions that we really feel. Obviously, it wasn't nothing like that serious, but it's true. But then you're being a parent, you understand in a weird way that they don't comprehend fully of what's really going on. And you almost like it. There's almost like that little cushion. It almost brings you back into, you want to provide. It's almost like a comfort thing.
Sure.
Like, what in the world? Like, they always, like how we were talking about when certain kids are ready to hear certain information or ready for a job or ready for certain responsibilities or whatever. So it's a step-by-step process, but there's something that you want to protect. The innocence, I guess it is. It's just the innocence that you're trying to protect. And there's something about that. I think that's also why it's important for me to be in my son's life, to kind of being that protection and kind of educating him of sometimes the craziness that can go on, and you have to kind of be the shield, and I guess that still goes back to what we're saying, being a protector and being the cornerstone there. But there's stuff there you kind of like go back to your childhood. You're like, I don't know if this was said, this might have been said to me, but I want to make sure my kid hears it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're creating a path that is clearer for them through your experiences. And I think
that they could look back on.
Sure. Yeah. And you're teaching them things that don't do that, don't do this. And they'll probably think of it as, and we all did it. It's like, yeah, okay. But all you're doing is trying to help them take the quickest path to point B, or to that next portion of their life.
Yeah.
So, that's answering the question for me. How important is it? You're just helping them get through life easier. They're gonna, whatever they do, they're gonna get to where they were supposed to go. Except you're just making it easier for them or guiding them through. And I think that's super important. Nobody wants to go through life harder than they have to go through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then I think that's just from our experience, and we've always talked about standing on the shoulders of giants. And that's what you want your children to do, is stand on your shoulders. So they start life. All right, so I'm 6'3", right? And obviously, say my son's 2 feet tall. So he'll be 8'3". And that's where he starts life at. I'm a grown man. Right. Mm-hmm. So then when he gets to literally physically stand on my shoulders, he gets to start at that height.
Right.
And then he moves forward. It's not to say that we're trying to live our lives for our kids. It's to start them at a higher level than where we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if when we're going through the trails, me and my brother Heck, who's not here, we sometimes we ride mountain bike. We haven't done it in a while. But when you're going through these trails, it's kind of like woods and like little dirt paths. Sometimes the path's not there. It's not very clear. And then you just have to kind of go through it. And then you kind of see, like in the distance, so many people went through these paths. It just makes it real clear. So it makes it so much easier to get through. We're kind of getting there. And then maybe eventually our kids can create their own paths.
Right.
But we don't want them to start at ground zero. There's no reason for it. We already did that. We already, paved the way, so to speak.
Right.
So now they can start here at a much higher elevated level.
That's a hell of a way to look at it. Yeah. I didn't think about standing on the shoulders of giants. I didn't look at it that way, but that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Gabe, what about you, bud?
Well, I grew up, I guess, more in the situation, I guess, in the reverse of Mikey here. Like my parents were separated when I was super young. So yeah, it was always, we had visiting, every other week and the weekends and stuff like that. So it was like, I feel like I don't have as close a bond as I guess I should, especially getting older. It's like with any parents, like you're not as close to them like you are, because obviously you move away and stuff just happens, life. I'll say especially now as getting older, I should actually take more of the initiative to get closer. And even like I've always been told, like I act totally like my father and all that stuff, and a lot of the personality stuff I get is from him.
Right.
Unfortunately, I didn't live in the same house with him all the time, so I've been told by my aunts that it's almost as if he almost never left anyway.
Wow, like you have like the same demeanor and all that?
Yeah, a lot of like faces and stuff like I was always told like I look almost very similar. So it's like a lot of stuff's like weirdly ingrained, but it's like they're used to like those bonding moments and stuff like that. It's like I wish I had more of those. I only get bits and pieces of those as through visiting, or if we needed him to be there for certain reasons. He wasn't neglectful in any way, but he was it's
the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a situation.
It's unfortunate. You have to live with what you're dealt with, unfortunately.
So instead of like a daily thing, it's kind of like this weekly thing or bi-weekly thing where you're just collecting these memories, really.
Exactly. And so, yeah, you always get little bits and pieces, but it's like you always wish there was more of that.
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. How would that mold you for your fatherhood, or how's your experience? Will it change the way you look at it?
Not necessarily, because like a lot of the way I am, it was ingrained in me through like either through my mom or other means of like how I look at life in general, like whether it be like religious and stuff like that. It was like a lot of those values I hold has been not only through parents, it's other ways or even like different experiences as you go up anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's anybody, but like when I become a father, if I become a father, like I would like to be there, have like the same bond that you'll have, like be there more for your child, like you said, spend every moment you can with them, and just try to kind of build that more than I wish I had.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah. It's just, to me, that's so interesting.
Going off what he said, that's like my thing. Like I want to, since I don't have like her that often, I want to spend as much time so when she does get older, there's not like no missing part. Like I don't want her to be like, oh, I wish I spent more time with him, or I did this, did that. And especially us coming from like the Puerto Rican culture, we're like so close knit that everything's like, so I just don't. That's why I try even more and try to get her extra and whatever. That I just don't want that like later on as she gets older for us to like fade away.
Yeah. I mean, I think too. I guess too. What you're kind of saying is like when you have the time, you want to put quality into it.
Every bit
it's
of it.
Effective, being effective.
I mean, and most people know when I have her over the weekend, like I don't answer no one's phone calls. It's just all about her. That whole weekend is like for the most part, I'm not doing nothing but just chilling out with her.
Yeah. I mean, he's sending like text messages or pictures like this is where I even want to go, whatever, out to breakfast or whatever it is.
Driving
kind of
around
funny.
in the drop top. She's like having fun. Is all her picking. Yeah.
She wanted the one time you told me she wanted specific sunglasses for the car.
Yeah. She we went to the store and got specific sunglasses just for the car.
But it's funny. It's like those moments. They're priceless. Yeah. I mean, you can't. There's nothing. And that's the fact, and I think there's a lot to be said for, for someone like where I'm in my child's life every single day. It's like a reminder to constantly put in the quality, which I feel like I am, but it's just a nice, little gentle reminder. Like you never know, you know what I mean?
Like also with me, like I constantly take pictures or videos, whatever, and like that weekend it could go by. Like a month or two later, I'm scrolling through my pictures, like, oh wow, that was like awesome. I forgot we did that. So that just brings back, and it puts me in a place where like, we did have a good time that weekend. As it might be like a rushed weekend, I felt because we did so much, but at the end of the day, it's like we really did stuff together.
Sure, recharge the battery there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so moving forward, what was the? I got another question here. Normally we kind of do like the one question thing, but this is such an awesome topic. I have another question. What was the most important lesson or one of your favorite lessons you learned from your father?
The cliche one, and then the one, everybody would probably say is, I learned the definition of hard work watching my father. But for me now is his patience. My dad doesn't get frustrated or just, doesn't get frustrated with situations. He just listens. And no matter what I'm going through, he's like my calm, in the storm. Dad, this, he's like, and he just listens and provides perspective. Never tells me to do this or never tells me to do that. He provides perspective, gives his opinion, and he's like, and what you do at the end of the day is your decision. And that patience and that kind of outside perspective, kind of seeing it from different angles is something that I can take to me to work, take to me in any relationship, and for that I am forever indebted to him because I learned it through our interactions.
For me it was his work ethic. Like he worked so hard, like you said, like your father, man. Before I wake up and go to school, he's already gone, and then I'd come home from school and I'm doing my homework. It's like dinner time, and he's strolling in. Like it's just he worked around the clock, and then he's worked around the house. He did so much. Like he was a handyman, so he did everything. Anything that went wrong, he fixed it in the house. Another thing was like the love and respect that he had for my mom, the unconditional love that he showed in front of us constantly, and like the respect. Like we grew up. I mean, it might not be normal, but to us, that's how we were raised. We've never seen them argue. Like, what I mean? I mean, I'm pretty sure they had their little tit and tat, whatever, but just like the way he was with her. So like me, that's why I try to like carry on like a vision. Like, what in my mind, their situation, like, what will Pop do like in this situation, or how would he handle it? Even though I'm not him, but it's just like a little notebook or check, trying to see how he would do it, because I felt like he handled things well in those situations, and like, yeah, just like he was just all about her. It was always all about her.
Right. They say that's one of the most important things you do in front of your child, right? Show them, show your kids that you love their mother unconditionally.
Yep.
Absolutely. So for me, it's obviously me, Goose, and Heck have the same father. And kind of, obviously, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but I can, I guess, support exactly what he's saying. And it was the one thing, it was just absolutely beautiful, the bond between him and my mother. And it made me want to spoil my wife and treat her like a queen. It was something that was unreal. We literally never seen them argue. I think literally I can count on one hand.
Yeah.
It's just something special. I don't know how else to put it, but one of the big points I wanted to say about my father, he was a man of few words, and he was about that action, how they say it.
He was a listener.
Yeah, he said everything with his actions. There's a quote out there that says, what you're doing speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that just kind of quantifies or whatever, puts together what my dad did. He showed us. He wasn't like a sit down and sit on my lap and I'll explain a lesson or, teach you something like that. He just didn't communicate in that manner. His way of communication was showing us how to love, showing us how to work, showing us how to be respectful, showing us how to get our own, be a good citizen, a contributor to society, showing us how to embrace our culture, never forget our roots. He always talked about Puerto Rico. He always talked about his heritage. He always wanted to go back and went back and brought those kind of elements into our lives. That was like hard work, culture appreciation, and we all know he loved the United States. This guy had American flags everywhere, and it was just like this thing. He's like, he is genuinely happy and proud of who he is, where he came from, and how he's contributing to this world, and was a man who genuinely loved what he did and his family. And it was just, when you just see that combination, it's just, there's no other word, and not to sound cheesy or anything, but it's just beautiful. There's just a beautiful thing. And that was one of the biggest. It was just, my dad was just a man of few words. He didn't have like those little weird talks with us or anything. He just like, sometimes he just gave us a look, and we already kind of knew what it was. But man, talk about just a all-out hustler. Just, that was it. That's all we needed.
Yeah. Yep.
It wasn't my dad wasn't there because he just walked out. He wasn't there because the dude was working and came back and just wouldn't complain. And it would just blow your mind. Like, dude, this dude's just happy.
That was definitely a big thing. Never complained about anything.
He would come home, all right, and then play shoot hoops with us. I mean, a long day, like you say, put in them hours.
12 hours,
yeah. And then he'll come home like, oh, Bobby, what? Because it was us three. So you always need that extra guy. He'll sit there and shoot hoops. Yeah, it's 2-on-2, and it's always me and my dad versus Mike and Heck or whatever. But oh man, you just can't. That's just unbelievable.
Calling off of kind of what Mikey said too, because I know before, like, my parents separated too, like they, my dad did have, he's always had a good work ethic anyway, because like he's been in the same job for like 40 years anyway. He worked at he works at the gas company, but like I know when I guess my sister was born and when I was born initially, I guess he made enough at there to be able to have my mom stay home for those 4 or 5 years and be able to, like, allowed her to take care of us full time to do that until she was, till she can go back to work. And, always, and I guess an inadvertent lesson is just, try to be there as much as possible for your children. So,
yeah, absolutely. And, just kind of talking about being there for your kids. This is the What Would You Do segment. What advice would you give a guy is about to become a father for the first time? Maybe something you wish you knew back when you had your first child, and you were freaking out.
The only thing I can say is, like, it'll work out. Like, everything will fall in its place. Like, I know when she was pregnant with my daughter, like, stressing out about, like, financially, about a bunch of things. And then when the baby was born, it just fell in place and everything was put together. Like, on its own, kind of just worked itself out. And that's why I remember telling, like, Manny, I was like, dude, it'll just work out. Like, it'll just fall in place. Like, that's the only thing I can, advice I can give. Because I know I'm a worrier. I stress about, like, the craziest things. And that was, like, one thing. Like, don't stress about it. It'll just work out.
Mm-hmm. I think for me is you can't do it wrong. Because there's not the syllabus. There's not a book. I mean, there's books, but there's no real way to, do it correctly. You do it to the best of your ability. If they're waking up in the morning, you're clothed, they're clothed, they're fed, you get them from school. I mean, those are the basic things. You can't mess it up.
Right.
I mean, you're going to do things wrong, but you can't mess it up. You're going to learn from those mistakes and keep it moving. And years from now, you'll laugh at that mistake and it'll be something to talk about. But there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah. I want to say is you're going to freak out. You're going to be stressed out. You probably have bags in your eyes. If you're involved, you're not going to get much sleep because even though for my case, it's like my spouse is telling me there was nothing I could do at certain levels because the baby would wake up was hungry. So she would have to be breastfeeding. So I would literally just be sitting on the floor in the room with her. She's like, this is not good because now none of us are getting sleep. You go to sleep. But it didn't work out anyway because I was just stressed out and I was worried about her. And I felt bad. And then not felt bad, but like kind of like, dang, this sucks. She ain't getting no sleep. Right. I'm not getting no sleep. Yeah. But at the same time, there was something like beautiful about that. And it was kind of like what Goose is saying, that everything will work out. And kind of tying in with Manny saying was with the love. If love will see it through. And I know that sounds so corny right now. And you're probably freaking out. And that's the last thing you want to hear. I read a book. I read 2 books. Dude, you're not thinking about those books and what they're saying. And the moment you're completely freaking out, it just doesn't. You'll pick it up. The instincts will kick in, and you'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're genuinely trying to take care of your child, and you're going through life, and it's the first time you're about to change a diaper, or the first time you're about to feed the child, it's actually beautiful, and it's different because a lot of times people think of babies and people are like, oh my gosh, you're not going to get no sleep. And then you start thinking about it, you start freaking out. It's not your baby. So it sounds like it's nuts and it's a pain. But when it's your child, like, dude, you're this thing like, dude, I made this. Yeah. You almost at it to a point where you don't even care about the crying or, not that you don't care because it could be stressful as well, but it's just, I don't know, there's something about the baby being yours and it's your little creation that you want to help you. Like, dude, we'll get through this. It'll work out. And believe me, it is not going to be smooth. It ain't going to be no. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think you should freak out. I do. I think you should go through the emotions that, a lot of times people try to hold in everything. It was just, 2 weekends ago, Muhammad Ali passed away. And they interviewed his brother. And for the first time, this guy apparently, I guess, really wasn't a person that would show his emotion. And he said something that said, they started interviewing. He just started breaking down and started crying. And he's like, no, keep, it's good. It's okay. It relieves my brain and my heart of the pressure. Yeah. So it's like just actually going through the emotions of, you can cry when your baby comes, when you first time you see your baby. It's okay. This whole macho man thing, no one cares. That macho man thing, it's not going to pay the bills when it comes down to it. Who cares, dude? Like, whatever you're feeling, you're feeling. You're excited. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. Forget about, all the crazy past stuff. This is brand new, and you get to start fresh. It's a clean slate. It's an innocent little child looking for you to, help it, protect it, help it develop. It's amazing. Like, we actually start bringing it down. Like, yes, I'm not going to sit here and say you're not going to be freaking stressed out.
No, remember for Ava's first birthday, like, I remember walking up to my brother and a couple guys, and I'm like, dude, it's been a whole year. She's still here, and we're still parents, and, like, everything. I guess we're doing something right. It's like, obviously it's different than having, like, a pet or something like that, but it's just like, wow, a year has already gone by, and, like, this baby started taking her first step already. Like, it's just like it just goes by so fast. When people say enjoy them because they grow up fast, it really does go by really fast.
She's 9 now.
And she's 9, and she's riding a bike and riding a go-kart, and now she wants to drive a car, which but like, she's just like, things go by so fast. You have to enjoy every moment of it. Because if not, with a blink of an eye, you're gonna miss it. Like you're absolutely right. That'd be one. Live in the moment. That would be one I would tell them. Whatever's happening,
whatever emotion you're happening, like you were just talking about, Jim, live in it. You want to cry as hard as you possibly can. You want to laugh at the stupidest things, laugh as hard as you can, because that's it. It's gone. It's finished once it's passed. Yeah. So don't be like, oh, I just want to get through it. Enjoy that moment. Enjoy those moments. Enjoy the frustration, because it's all temporary.
So kind of, switching gears. Do you guys have any funny stories of being a first-time dad, or just being a dad in general? Like, not even anything that no one knows, just kind of you just laugh to yourself and you're like, oh man, what in the world was I doing?
The only one I have that I can remember, it's stained in my brain. My first child, I have two. I have a daughter and a son. I went to go take my son out. He was still in the car seat. He was less than a year old, so he had to be like 8-9 months. So he was in the car seat, and I had him in the car seat, and the handle was up, right? So I put him on the sofa. But I'm like, man, it's not that sturdy. I'll be back in 2 seconds. He moved, and the damn thing came off the couch. But it was like slow motion. Like, it was like, no. So I go jumping out. I literally throw myself on the floor to try to catch him. Meanwhile, I completely miss. The whole thing rolls over, and he actually just ends up like on the upright position. He's like sitting up looking at me like, what just happened? Meanwhile, I'm sweating profusely. I'm like, Mom, that hurt him. I'm at my mom's house. Mom, that hurt him. I heard him. Is he okay? He's looking at me like, yeah, dude, everything's fine, Dad. But I lost it. Because I damn near, I thought I killed him. He was strapped in, thank God. But that was the one where I was like, what the hell? Oh, my God. Hold on, another one. This happened a couple weeks ago. My daughter. My wife went to with CJ. He had a sleep study. So he goes, everything's good. I go to my mom's house. I get food. I come home, and she cuts up cantaloupe for my daughter. She loves cantaloupe. I'm like, cool. We'll sit down. I'm watching TV. She's like, Dad, I want cantaloupe. Cool, not a problem. As a parent, you're told, right, if your child's choking, do a certain thing. Well, guess what? My child choked. The first thing I did was throw the fingernail and the claw in her mouth to try to get it out. I almost cried, and I couldn't help but just put my finger in there. Meanwhile, I felt it jamming it closer in. I flip her over and like just start pounding her back, and she coughed it up. It lasted maybe 15 seconds.
And it feels like forever.
And all I saw was panic in her eyes. Yeah. When I saw the fear in her eyes, dude, I lost it.
Dude, it's that look that makes you go.
She was like looking. She was helpless. Yeah. Dude, no lies. I needed a beer. I went. I drank a beer. I had nothing else to do. My daughter almost chokes. I go drink a beer. It was traumatic. That was when I called my wife immediately. I like tattletale on myself. I was like, Jenna, Layla choked. She's like, what? I was like, she choked. She's all right now. She's breathing, but she choked. She's like, okay, that's enough. I'm going to need you to stop with the cantaloupe and just relax and just watch TV, watch basketball. And I was like, okay. But those are the two. I don't think that's funny for some other people, but at the time.
Yeah, no. That same thing happened to me with Ava. She was eating a Dorito. And I'm sitting there, and she's probably 3 years old or whatever. She has a Dorito in her hand. We're watching whatever cartoon she wants. She's kind of skipping around like the coffee table with a Dorito, and she's eating it. And I'm sitting there, I must have probably been like looking down at my phone, and at the corner of my eye, I just see her pause, like she was skipping, and then all of a sudden she stopped. I looked over, and she just looked at me, and like she wanted to like cry or breathe or whatever, but it was just like and like you said, that look, those eyes. I'm like, what the heck? I ran, I grabbed her, I did the same thing, jammed the finger down, and pulled it out. I actually pulled the Dorito out. So as I pulled it out, she has it was a cheesy Dorito, so she had cheese all over her mouth, whatever. And I see like the orange cheese sauce. I thought it was blood. I'm like, yo, I just broke her esophagus. I seriously, I thought she was bleeding, but I'm like, but she's breathing. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, oh, it's just the sauce. But everything, and like, matter of like 5 seconds felt like 5 minutes, and I'm forever. Like. And then you start thinking of the what if.
The worst.
Yeah. The what if.
What if she died?
And
that was the worst.
Yeah, it was just me and her. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if? Like, and then like you just have to like erase your mind. Like, no, don't think like that and just stop. Yeah. But yeah, dude, it's scary.
It's funny now, but at the time, it's that's a no bueno. Oh boy.
But funny, actually, Mom actually literally like a couple days ago told me a story about me where I think some reason like they got home from like grocery shopping or something. I was of walking age at least. Turned around for like a split second. And all of a sudden, I was out the door in the middle of the street. And the street I lived on growing up was a relatively major street. So she ran out the door. I was in the middle of the block. Somebody had wound up blocking the street. So like nobody else would come.
Wow.
So like they can like so nobody would come and just randomly hit me. But I was just standing in the middle of I don't know what the heck I was doing. But
Oh my gosh.
but she came out, dragged me
Directing
back in the house,
traffic.
and I was like, wow.
Let's give my parents a heart attack.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
Pretty much what I did.
So let's remember, none of those stories were funny. They were scary.
I
But
definitely
it's-
said a
right.
funny story.
Yeah, but it's like,
Those are horrifying stories.
You think of all the worst.
Well, that's good
stuff.
for the parents that are about to be. It doesn't matter, dude. You're not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. Like I said, they're going to give you the book. They're going to hit you with all the rules, and right. They're going to hit you. Dude, yes, we're be obviously a responsible adult, a responsible parent, but there's gonna be hiccups along the road.
yeah, they're gonna hate you and love you in the same day.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to give as a kind of cool idea and concept that our family kind of adopted for new fathers is a pamper parties. So it kind of goes on a kind of like along the lines where women have the baby shower or whatever, and now it's different. Now they almost make them combine, and the guy goes, and it's awesome. So for the concept for the guy is basically the guy brings all his buddies bring a case of Pampers, and the invites go out, and they kind of tell each guy which invite that whatever designated invite they have, which size Pampers to get. So you're not having 400 boxes of the same size, but so it's kind of nice. So you end up with, like 10 of your buddies come over. You have 10 cases of Pampers. A nice way to kick off parenthood. And then they also kind of bring, it's like a BYOB. Mm-hmm. So you kind of bring, whatever you want to drink for the night. And then a case of Pampers, almost kind of like for the guys to hang out. I know for us, we kind of relieve some stress. There's other, obviously there's dads in his, group of friends or whatever. So, they're giving tips. So we played games and stuff like that. Changing a diaper, the new dad changing a diaper blindfolded. Look it up. I don't know. It was something that, one of our cousins did years and years ago. And then we kind of adopted and took it on. Now our friends do it. It's pretty cool.
Got a year's worth of diapers out of
Yeah,
it.
so
did I.
Just for a couple of guys to come over, get a case or two, and then drink some beer and do whatever, I think it's well worth it. Once that diaper, supply ran out, you're like, oh man,
That's how much
That-
diapers
yeah,
cost.
these things
that
are
becomes
expensive.
another bill.
And guess what? When they're that young, they're going through them.
Oh, absolutely. You'd be like, how old is he? When's he get potty trained? Soon or later?
You are
Yeah.
changing. You become, if you never change a diaper, don't worry about it, bud.
Yeah.
You are going to be an expert.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, we're going to wrap this episode up with quotes from Clarence, Budington, Kelland, and Bartrand, Hubbard. So the first one goes, I've had a hard life, but my hardships are nothing against the hardships that my father went through in order to get me where I started. That kind of goes along with the standing on the shoulders kind of thing. That's pretty cool. And that was by Bartrand Hubbard. And the second quote we'll close here with is, he didn't tell me how to live. He lived and let me watch him do it. By Clarence, Budington, Kelland.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's
awesome.
pretty cool stuff. All right, so that wraps up this episode of the Rotated Views podcast, episode number 10. In this episode, it was a special edition for Father's Day, Dad Life. We discussed fatherhood, a.k.a. Dad Life, advice for new fathers, Father's Day, the Founding Fathers, just kidding, funny dad stories, and lessons our fathers taught us. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.